In this list we've got the EA making the long E sound in lease, grease, crease, release and decrease. And here we've got the OR sound followed by the Y for the long E sound on the end of a word. So we've got glory, history, victory, factory and territory. So you might notice here may give that a bit of a schwat sound too, so just be aware of that. So if we have a look in more detail in these words, lease, we've got the SE on the end, same as grease and crease and release and decrease. So quite often we use an E on the end after an S to show that it's singular in usage, or it's just the base word is the E isn't make a longer sound because it's already making a longer sound. So it can be to make the S say Z, but that's not the case here. It's just to show that it's in its singular or base form. Glory, we've got here, you could use EY at the end of a few words, but Y is the most common ending for E sound at the end of a word, and OR is a nice easy representation of the OR sound too, so that's not too bad for you. You may need to break these up into syllables to make the sounding of them easier as well. So what do these words mean? Well, a lease is a rental agreement. Grease is like a lubricant. It's a thick oily substance that we use to help machines run more smoothly. A crease is a fold line in paper, or you might put a crease mark in your trousers or your pants. Release is when you set something free. Decrease is when you reduce something in number. Glory is magnificence. It's something very special. History means in the past. Victory means you've defeated an opponent, you've won. Factory is an industrial unit, and territory is an area of land. Now you can go through and read, sound or syllabify the words. Do it 3 times, spell them, write them and then check them on your own. In these words we've got the long E sound with the EA, we've got lease, grease, crease, release, decrease. So the SE is making its sound at the end of these words, and usually if it's making its sound, it's just to show that this is in its singular form. It's not a plural, in its plural form. So they've just put the E there to show that it is singular. And if you want to make it plural, then you've got to add the S after it. So these ones we've got the OR plus the Y making the long E sound, which is very common at the end of a word. So we've got glory, history, victory, factory, territory. And you just might need to have a close look within those to make sure you don't forget that double R. So territory comes from the old Latin word terra, of course, meaning land. Now when you go down to complete the crossword, do the ones that you can do first, and then go and cross them off as you find them, and then go back and do the harder ones. So make sure you only put 1 letter in each box. Down here, of course, antonyms mean the opposite, so you've got to find list words that mean the opposite to these. And this is link the pairs. Now I'd suggest you do the easiest ones first, and then you may need to discuss that within your group to work out what the common pairs would be in these words, because there's some tricky ones in there. So press, of course, would have to go with release. A press release is something that the newspapers put out. Down here you may need to also discuss this, finish the saying and explain its meaning. So a new lease on life, what does that mean? You've got to fill in the list word there. To grease someone's palm, what does that mean? And to go down in history, what do you think that means? In these words we're looking at the EA for the long E sound in lease, grease, crease, release, decrease. And you can hear also that the SE on the end of these words is making a sound. Now here we've got glory, history, victory, factory, territory. So we've got the OR sound with the added Y making that ending. Now Y on its own is a common E sound at the end of thousands of words. There's not many that end in EY or double E. So Y is a common E sound at the end of a multisyllabic word where we want the long E sound. Now down here you have to fill in the missing plural form. So just be aware that if a word ends in Y and it has a consonant before it, you have to change the Y to an I before you add the ES. If it has a vowel before the Y, you don't change it, you just add the S. The other thing to be aware of too when we get down to verb tense is that if a word ends in E and you want to add ing, E goes away when ing comes to stay. And if you want to add the D, then you're going to leave the E there and just add the D. You're not going to add another E as well. So in these plurals here, probably the trickiest one is history, because you don't say histories. History, the plural is history. Just like the plural of sheep is sheep, the plural of corn is corn. There's a whole pile of words in English where we don't actually have to change the base word at all, whether it be in singular or plural form. Now if you go down to verb tense here, you'll have to make sure that you use the correct ending on these words, on these base words, so that the sentences sound correct. Down here you're going to create some new and very interesting words. So victorious, we've given you prompts there in how to spell it, which letters you have to take away and which ones you add, and then we need you to write it in a sentence to show that you know what form it's taking and what its meaning would be in that form. Down the bottom you have to find as many words as you can that contain the word least. Now you could be adding prefixes or suffixes or both to the word least to make up all of those words. So we've got about 20 words that you have to find. You may need to Google or get a dictionary to find those, and you could work within the group to finish that activity off. Today we're looking at noun groups, and here we've got a noun group modifies a noun using two or more adjectives. So we've got two chimpanzees here, so we've got cheeky, cheerful chimpanzee. So these are the adjectives and this is the noun. Now between the adjectives we can put a comma within that noun group. Now insert a comma between two or more adjectives if the sentence still makes sense when you reverse the order of the adjectives. So you could have cheeky cheerful or cheerful cheeky. So yes, you can do that, so you can put a comma between the two adjectives. You can also put in the word and between the adjectives. So, and if that works, cheeky and cheerful chimpanzees, yes, that sounds fine. So you can also put that and in as well. So create some noun groups down here. You've got two, we've given you one adjective, you have to work out the other and the noun that it would go with. Now then down here we've got highlight the noun groups in the sentences below. So you've got couple of sentences there. Work out what the noun groups are, they're pretty obvious. You've got two adjectives with each noun in those noun groups, and then add the comma if necessary. So if you're not sure if you should have a comma or not, go back to this little bit here. Now down here it says a noun group can also include an adverb. That is modifying the adjective, not the noun. So in that case, there is no comma after it because, and we've given you an example here, the wildly talented musician. Wildly is describing the level of talent, not the musician, not the noun. So a comma is not needed. So create noun groups starting with an adverb. So we know commonly an adverb can end with ly, and that may give you a hint down here where you have to insert the missing commas into the noun groups. Now some of them will have adverbs, and you know here you're not putting the comma after the adverb if it's describing the adjective.